What's going on with y'all? How y'all doing today? We are back with another one. This is not an album reaction though, as you can see by the title and the thumbnail. I've been watching this guy named FD Signify for about 2 years now. Yeah, 2 years now. I found him in the summer of 2023. He's a very, very smart guy. I love his content. You could tell like he has a super like high understanding of the culture and the contexts that make things what they are and things of that nature. He's just really, really good at what he does. Like I love his videos. He recently just dropped a video about age in hip hop. You know how there's kind of a problem with it, so I want to react to it. I have seen some little bits and pieces of it from other people reacting to it, but I thought that I should give it a look because I am the certified young. I feel like I am the bridge between the young folks and the older folks. Because I actually listen to what the older people be saying, and I listen to a lot of the music that they listen to sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
A few weeks ago, the Clips released their fifth studio album, Let God Sort 'Em Out, and their first album in nearly 15 years to critical and commercial acclaim. And after a week or two of discourse, I made a video about how I had mixed feelings about the fact that arguably the most critically acclaimed, attention-grabbing rap album of the year was made by two men older than me. That video never made it to YouTube.
Is that true? Is that the most attention grabbing album of this year? Then again, I'm somebody who in my top five albums of this year, I have Clips and Playboy Cardi in that same ballpark, with Clips being way better to me, of course. But when it comes to the attention that was grabbed by me, like I'm right in that in between stage. But it's funny how he says that like they're older than him, which is crazy how hip hop is right now. But you got to give him the respect. You got to give him the respect because that shit was great. Shout out to my Clips reaction. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. A lot of people seem to love it. I appreciate y'all.
And it didn't make it for mostly good reasons. A lot of what I had to say in this video, I'm going to low-key repeat in this one. But right after that video was finished, I saw a video
I didn't see
from my
that video.
problematic nephew Dom, where he continued his smoke demon phase toward the generation before him, agreeing with my overall opinion, but also adding some things to the story that I knew I wanted to touch on, and I didn't know if I touched on perfectly. Before I could add anything to the video, I ended up taking a trip to LA for some business and ended up connecting with who I would say is the godfather of modern hip hop journalism and content creation, the Company Man.
I've seen a little bit of his stuff too.
And my conversation with him really helped me see that my initial take was inadequate. So the following is a result of my thoughts influenced by two, what I would say, powerful voices in hip hop criticism from relatively opposing sides from the generational and artistic divide. And using those angles, I want to discuss why I think we're at a pivotal crossroads for hip hop and music culture in general. So let's talk about Let God Sort 'Em Out and why that album is so interesting, but also alarming. Hip hop has always been an art form that reflected the energy and attitudes of America's and eventually the world's young people. In fact, I remember vividly as a teenager joking with my friends about how weird it was gonna be when someone like Snoop Dogg got old and was still trying to rap. And mind you, old rappers are definitely doing weird shit right now. But it's not necessarily the music that's weird. In fact, the last half decade has proven that old rappers can actually still provide the genre with amazing work.
I feel like that mindset of this is gonna look weird when when a rapper gets older has kind of been diminishing because these rappers have been getting older and they're still rapping. A lot of them don't need to be. I'm looking at you, Lil Wayne. No, I think Lil Wayne should still be rapping. Let me not say that. I just think his album curation has not been good, like at all. But like for example, Drake said he cannot. He said like years ago on Views, I can't ever have a kid and be out here still kidding around, boys playing around. And he would take shots at older like people with like kids or with wives and stuff like that still in the rap game. But here we are now. He's about to, was he in his 40s? About to be in his 40s with the kid. And the kid's been around for a minute now. Adonis is he growing up mad quick. You're still making music about the same shit you were making music about before, but just in a worse way. You know what I'm saying? And that's not me trying to like downplay making music at an older age. I think there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like the whole mindset of oh, it's gonna look weird when rappers do it is just I just don't believe in that personally. And that's coming from somebody who's considered younger within like the hip hop, discourse uh arena of the internet. Because I've always gravitated towards like older, but I've also like it's impossible to not hear younger as well, especially when you're coming up in a time where I was coming up in like that 2016 era. But I don't know, that's just me.
Nas went on a generational run coming out of COVID that rivals anything
Yep.
he's ever done as an artist. Jay Electronica oddly gave the world his first album.
Fun fact, the second front to back album I've ever listened to in my life was Nas Illmatic. I was 12. I was 12 or 11. I was 11 years old when I first listened to an album front to back, and it was J. Cole 2014 Forest Hill Drives. And then, like, a few weeks later, I found Nas Illmatic on YouTube, listened to that front to back too. Good times, man. Good times. I'm telling you, I've always been in that in between, bro. I've always been in that. That's when I was 11. This is about 10 years later now. And I feel like I'm still in that same space, man.
In his early 40s after over a decade of waiting. Artists like A$AP Rock, Billy Woods, and even Killer Mike have all given the world numerous excellent projects in the last few years, while all in their mid to late 40s. And of course, probably the first to show that this was possible was Jay-Z back in 2017 at 444 when he was 48 years old. Old rappers, the Clips are still rapping about selling drugs, being rich, and killing people.
This nigga Malice is so good. I never knew about this guy. I'm new to clips. This nigga's so good.
And I love it. We all loved it. It's great. And if you think about it, it's no
It is
more
great.
relatable to a person like me when I was younger than it is when I'm older. So it's just good, fun entertainment. But also in between those drug bars, we get amazing moments about aging with hip hop and in the spotlight, gaining perspective through experience, losing parents. All this to say, as much as I love him, Andre 3000, you are wrong. There is a lot of room for older people in hip hop. Teray,
Thank you.
another hip hop journalism elder, said as much a while back. However, I still have concerns when I see the rollout and reception for Let God Sort 'Em Out.
The Andre 3000 thing kind of irritates me too, because he's another person I think could really benefit from shutting that mindset, because he's so great. Every feature we've heard within these recent years has been nothing short of phenomenal. Whether that be that feature off the Killer Mike album, that was great. Everybody knows how amazing Life of the Party was with his contribution to it. Even when he hops on these like new gen artists like Travis Scott, for example, off the ends, off of the Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight album, or from when he did that feature for Frank Ocean. Andre 3000 is really, really good. But again, it's really about how willing. It's not easy to rework your art in a way that still is respectable from this new older perspective. And what I mean by that is Malice, for example. I haven't listened to his older projects yet, but y'all recommended me some, which I will go back and listen to probably in like a week or so. I can't sit here and think after listening to what he was putting out that, oh, this was freestyle, this was very just off the cuff. Like, no, it felt very intentional to keep his identity of the work there, but also rework it in a way where you could hear that there's a new kind of filter on it. Like, he's not, like, for example, them talking about losing their parents off the intro was so heart-wrenching to me, but there was still that piece of street grit in it where he says, imagine, he said, my dad didn't mind working a double. My dad, my dad something had structure. So imagine my dad also kept every base covered. So imagine his face when he's seeing the base in the cupboard. Like stuff like that is not, you can't just, I don't, in my opinion, you can't just stumble upon a line like that. You have to really sit with your thoughts and your writing to get to a certain point like that. And that's something that I really would like from these new old people. For example, Drake. Like I said, I don't think it's something horrible for somebody over their 30s to be rapping or still making that one of their priorities. I just feel like there's a way of attacking it that isn't talked about within this age group, you know. Future is like 40 some years old. He's talking about the same shit, but within that lane that he's kind of carved out for himself within the trap atmosphere, it just works. It just works. But for somebody like a Drake, you kind of have to do a little bit more. You know, you've regarded yourself as the GOAT. A lot of people regard you as the best. So you can't really, you know, you can't fall back in that writing part, that sitting with your thoughts part. You know what I'm saying? That's a big aspect of the music that garners the respect and attention from the viewers like us or
Not in terms
listeners.
of its success, but in terms of galvanizing the culture, drawing attention, and driving trends and conversations, being a moment in hip hop in a way that I don't know if it's happened enough in the last decade or so. Because while I think there's plenty of room for older rappers in hip hop, any genre of art that is dominated by people in their 40s going into their 50s, especially a genre that used to be driven by younger people. The aforementioned Nas, for example, was 19 when he made Illmatic, and along with Big Boy, they were both 19 when Outkast released Southern Playlist to Cadillac Funky Music. If the only people really engage with hip hop culture as a music culture and not a drama culture, and we'll get to that later, if those people are all pushing
That
40 or
part.
older, that means hip hop is dying, or at least that it's not in a healthy place. As much as I love Kendrick Lamar's current reign of dominance, I don't know if there's ever been a time where the biggest star in hip hop has been in their late 30s. Drake's most dominant run in the 2010s, he was in his mid 20s. Kanye and Wayne before him were in their mid and late 20s. Jay-Z was maybe the first to do this in his 30s in the late 90s during his most dominant run, but he had been around since his mid 20s. And before that, Biggie, Tupac, Lauryn Hill, Missy Elliott, Run DMC, LL Cool J, and so on. These were all very young men and women becoming superstars and affecting significant change and impact on hip hop culture, making iconic work at that time. It's not that it's not happening now, is that the way it's happening is not where it needs to be. Now, I want to be clear that I'm using the word iconic for a reason, because I'm about to give maybe my hottest take in a while to point out a paradox happening in hip hop. I'm not saying that there are no young rappers making good music right now in 2025 or in the past decade or so.
There's a lot of good ones, but I can't imagine being at Jay-Z outcast level at this age. 'Cause the age that they're blown up is the age I'm at right now. I can't imagine having so much to talk about and being at that level and what that would mean for the future, like in the next 5, 10 years.
In fact, I think that hip hop music as a whole is the best it's ever been, and this includes younger
I agree.
rappers. Now, I know this is something that people my age would disagree with, but that's because they're probably less locked in than I am. And y'all know I'm not nearly as locked in as I used to be once upon a time. And part of that is because there's honestly too much good hip hop coming out these days. There's a new rap girl with a ratchet banger every 3 weeks. There's a new Griselda project every 2 months. There's an entire genre of female MCs making more
No Name is the best female rapper of today right now. I don't care what nobody says.
purist boom bap adjacent music like Chica and Lil Sims and No Name. There's entire catalogs of good music from younger artists like Denzel Curry or Vince Staples that I don't get to spend enough time with. Because the reason is one of y'all are bringing to my attention someone like Mike, who I haven't
Yes.
listened to yet because I don't know when I'm going to do that.
Listen to Mike.
Because I just heard the new McKinley Dixon project, and that is to me my favorite thing that's came out all year. And then I find out that dude has 5 other albums that I've never heard, and this is all while Let God Sort
Never heard
Out
of
is
McKinley
still in
Dixon.
heavy rotation. If you're my age and you're paying attention and you're honest, you have to admit there simply wasn't this much high quality stuff coming out in the 90s, because the way we consumed hip hop, the people that controlled how hip hop was released, would not have allowed it. But that's also part of the issue. Hip hop music is in a second renaissance right now, but hip hop culture is kind of trash. And
I love that he separated the music from the culture. That's facts. I was also gonna say that it's kind of similar to how in the NBA we have these comparisons of the best of then to the best of now, but I think it's a pretty unanimous kind of understanding that the general landscape of the NBA is a way more talented league than before, and a lot of that is because of the process of getting to that point. There's more technology for understanding injuries. There's more technology when it comes to the shoes that you wear, to the training workouts are different, to the nature of the game has just been evolved into a way where you don't need to rely on the things you had to rely on back then. Same for right now. You don't got to rely on radio hits. You don't got to rely on the gatekeepers. Just like out in the NBA, we eliminated segregation, so the brothers could come in and whip these white folks like up and down. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, but the also the all but the thing that also fuses those two is that the best of the best back then are still going to be regarded as the best of the best right now, because imagine it was a worse league, right? But it was even harder to break through than it is now, only because of the shit that was added on top of it. So imagine someone having to deal with the racism of back in the day, trying to get into the league right now and breaking through those barriers of that. It would be way easier. Similar to like how someone like a Pusha T or Malice or whatever could break through the noise and the barriers of gatekeepers. Of course, now they could still do it too because they had more things blocking them from doing it. There's also, it's not a perfect analogy, it's not a perfect example, because there's also the problem of oversaturation, there's a problem of the streaming era and things of that nature, but you get what I mean.
There's a lot of reasons for this. Many of them have to do with the mediums through which we consume music. Streaming has changed the nature of engaging with the music and has also exacerbated how exploitative being a rapper is, as rappers make even less money off their music today than they did 30 years ago. They were getting at least pennies off each record, and now it's a percentage of a penny off each stream. And this has led to a big difference in how rappers might be motivated to make music. And you know what? I'm gonna be lazy and just like add a section from that vaulted video here because it's basically the same shit.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base
No
44.
chill.
But even going back to those stars, the Doechis, the Glorillaz, the Megs, etc., are any of them willing to put in the effort to sit and really build a project akin to Chromacopia or Let God Sort Them Out or maybe whatever Jid and Joey Badass are doing? To be fair, does the even culture demand that from them, or is this just an outdated old head concept? Is it old head of me? I'm asking this genuinely, to want more artists to sit down for a couple of years and really work on building a project, because I understand that that's not the optimal way to be a musician in 2025. Like, I don't know if any rapper has had a bigger.
I don't think it's old head of you to want that. I think that's a genuine desire for the craft without the thinking of the business aspect to it. And I feel like as consumers, we deserve to think that way. We don't. I feel like we shouldn't always have to limit our beliefs and limit our appreciation to what will do well for somebody business wise. Sometimes you just want something to be of quality because you think it deserves to be of quality. That's really it.
18 to 24,
But I do get
whether
why it
big
would be
or really.
difficult.
I feel like ever since she popped up a couple of years ago, she's basically had a top 10, top 20 hit every 2 to 3 months. And somehow she came out with not one, but 2 albums in 2024. Or maybe they're mixtapes. I honestly don't know. And that's kind of my thing. It doesn't feel like it mattered that she came out with 2 albums in 1 year, and that the albums themselves didn't really make, like, as singular projects, they didn't make huge splashes, because she's still releasing big hits every couple of months. What would incentivize her to go away from that strategy and like let her wave calm down for a second and legitimately stay in the studio for a big album, hype it for months, make one big splash all at once, when she can basically just keep ruling TikTok and Instagram and whatever else with these great songs? And this is where my conversations with Company Man and Dom come in. What I began to ask is,
That's a good question.
cultural shift.
What do you think is better, to keep riding a consistent like flow of things, or to like sit in hibernation for a little bit and then come out with a big, huge tidal wave that eventually clears out, but you still reached a good amount of new people to come funnel into your identity as an artist? Personally, I'm not sure which one is better in this day and age. I really am not sure. And I do think the incentive has to be something past money for you to want to do that. If I were an artist, I would rather have the big wave and then sit, behind the scenes, than do the big wave again. But that's just me personally. I feel like that's based more of my personality and what I value. But I can't understand why artists would just want to sit in that consistent like flow of stuff, because it's very, very it's not just structured, but it's like something that you could it's more comfortable, in my opinion, for a certain type of artist. You know what I mean?
shifting moments in the form of music coming from younger parts of hip hop. While there's still good music happening in hip hop, used to ask is, where are the huge cultural shifting moments in the form of music coming from younger parts of hip hop? While there's
It's a
still
good
good
question.
music happening in hip hop, the stars don't seem to shine as bright. I looked at a list of the 20 hottest rappers in hip hop from 2022, and a bunch of the people on that list had already low key fallen off, like Jack Harlow and Sexy Red. If you were people I didn't know anything about, like V's and Cash Cobain and Ken Carson, and you might say, well, that's because I'm not locked in. And to
Not
an
too much on V's, bro. V's is him. V's is him.
maybe,
I
but
fuck
if
with
they were
V's.
really huge stars, it would be impossible for me not to know who they are. There's a few
But V's damn near 30. He not that young either. V's about to be 30.
bona fide huge stars, but they were also mostly women like Meg, Glorilla, Lotto, Doja Cat, Doechii, and keep a pin in that because that's important. So aside from maybe Playboy Cardi and Lil Uzi Vert, I don't think anyone on that list has truly done anything to deeply impact hip hop culture on a large scale. There's good music, there's big hits, but there's no big galvanizing culture shifting moments. And as I showed with Glorilla in that previous segment, I don't think there's even a real reason or like force to make that a thing. As big of a year that Glorilla had, I don't think her presence right now compares to what Nicki Minaj did with Pink Friday 15 years ago. And I was old then. I wasn't locked in then, but I could tell from looking at
Bro, I was like, what was I? 6 years old maybe? And that was when I was going on. I remember it being on 106 in Park. I remember it because it was a Friday. I remember my mom was watching it on the TV. I was eating some leftovers. It was either early morning or late at night. I forget the details, but I just remember seeing that creepy ass doll. I remember seeing her, yeah, her fucking eyes wide open and being creeped the hell out, and then not seeing her arms. I remember the cover art so vividly from being that young, but I do not remember anything about the music part. I don't know what that shit sounds like at all. Can't cap. But it was huge back in that time when it first dropped. And also, I don't think any female rapper in this day and age has had any moments or any kind of domination that Nicki Minaj has had. Like, not even close. Closest thing would be a Cardi B, but not even her is going up to something like a Nicki Minaj. I feel like that's just not fair. It's hard to do. You know what I mean?
youth and from looking at the culture that something was happening when she came out. And it's not the same. People now are just satisfied with small mini waves and different pockets
Did
of
Pink Friday
fandom.
come out?
And that's not the worst thing, because that also does mean we get better, more niche content. But it does mean that hip hop is lacking star power, or at least young star power, which is concerning because that's what drives the medium.
2010, I was 7.
Into the future beyond when I'll have any influence. There's a lot of obvious aspects of why this is happening: late capitalism and enshittification of music streaming and how we consume music. But the company man added something else that I definitely want to touch on to oversimplify our conversation. Justin, I invite you to add your commentary to this when you can. He pointed out that essentially Gen Z doesn't have the best critics who are also popular and influential in the culture in the same way that me and him and
This is the part I've seen a little bit of, and I thoroughly agree. My generation is horrible when it comes to music discourse, and I will fully admit that. There's some bullshit that the unks and the old heads be on, but when it comes to young folks, we do not know how to just break something down and explain why we like or dislike something. I don't know why. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why. There's the TikTok, there's the COVID fucking up our social skills. There's the instant gratification that we've become so accustomed to. There's the way algorithms have been working in these past like couple of years, not even couple of years, good amount of years, where you only get put into these echo chambers of opinion, so you can't see any new well thought out perspectives of something different from yours without it being under the guise of rage bait or under the guise of out of context kind of like method of reaching you, basically saying you're only seeing it to make you mad but not to understand, because the algorithm reads that too. I don't know if people know that, but the algorithm reads what makes you upset, and they try to give you that as well to like have you engage. But the ways they do that is by eliminating context that will make you maybe like see a different side of things. And it's just more incentivized to have conflict within discourse nowadays. And I feel like that really has been It's been fucking my generation up. I'm not gonna lie. Niggas do not want to hear people out when it comes to a different opinion. It's so bad to the point where if you go on TikTok and just talk about something that you like, you don't have to diss nobody else's thing. You don't have to talk shit about nobody else's kind of interest. But if you just talk about something that you like, there's going to be a good amount of folks, if you have a big audience, that are just gonna come just to shit on you liking something with no explanation of why they think you shouldn't like it. That's it. Just to do it. Like why? What's the point? It's really some dumb shit to me. But yeah, my generation's bad with the critiquing and all that. I feel like we don't have critics, which is neither here nor there.
Others above us and older than us were while we were consuming hip hop. The reality is that the popular figures who promote and discuss music that is Gen Z oriented are, for lack of a better word, pretty shallow. So before you take offense to that, young people, let me explain.
I don't take offense to that.
Back in my day, hip hop journalism was a real thing. That's where Justin came from. Teray, Sway, Funkmaster Flex, Joe Claire, Fab Five Freddy, Heather B.
I know Sway and I know Heather B because Heather was on the show with him. I fucked with her, and I know Funk Flex, of course, because of the memes.
And a bunch of other names that a lot of you are like, who the fuck is this nigga talking about?
I don't know these niggas.
That was a little nostalgic, hit to the brain. These were the talking heads of my time. And while they weren't as in-depth or as analytical as maybe a Justin and many of my peers are today, they were still seriously engaged with criticism and discussion of hip-hop. They inspired debate and discourse and admiration, and they were tastemakers that grew the culture through funneling the biggest stars
Was that Heather B? She made music?
to our eyes and brains, and making sure that when their music happened, when their music came out, that we all sat with it instead of just consuming it as content. And to be blunt, this is not something that a Kai Cenat or Aiden Ross or XQC or academics.
Like a XQC? We're bringing up XQC in hip hop discussions. Fucking ew. XQ fucking C? Ew. Fucking ew. Kai Cenat and Aiden is already something you shouldn't put in that discussion, but media sources keep putting them up there, so I understand they do have a big connection with bringing artists up there, and of course Kai being black is going to be that's going to be a thing that happens, and I fuck with Kai heavy, but I'm so sick of us putting streamers in conversations they don't need to be in when they're not involved in that type of space. They just listen to the music and happen to showcase them listening to it, and they're barely even listening to it. They're really just hearing it and vibing, which is nothing wrong with it. They should be able to do that. But we keep putting them in these sections that they should not be in.
Is doing right now. In our conversation, Company Man brought up this conflict between XQC and Anthony Fantano. And, Anthony Fantano didn't like Jack Boys 2, and he did like Let God Sort Him Out, right? And his reason
I liked both.
was that Jack Boys 2 felt a little shallow and uninspired. And the Company Man pointed out that
Travis Scott, of course, is going to feel shallow.
Whether or not you like Jack Boys 2, if you have an analytical stance on hip hop and that music specifically, you could illustrate multiple positive angles that could be made about Jack Boys 2 that would be a solid argument against what Fantano presented. So in a dream world, where Anthony Fantano and the Company Man have a conversation about those albums, anyone who witnessed that would be richer from the experience of seeing two informed and experienced hip hop critics sharing an intellectual conversation where they may have disagreed. However, XQC is no Justin Hunt. SQC basically went full idiocracy on us and said, Unga Bunga, words are hard, let's vibe. It was really embarrassing. And it's incredibly embarrassing that somehow this guy is a prominent voice for Gen Z on anything, let alone.
Yo, how old is XQC? That nigga's 29 years. He pushing 30. He not in my generation, bro. I can't stand that nigga, bro. It's nothing personal. It's just, I always see clips of him talking about music, and it's always the dumbest shit ever. I can't stand hearing this nigga talk, bro.
Alone hip hop. Say what you want about Anthony Fantano, but one thing you have to admit,
he ain't
he's
me.
A thoughtful critic with an informed perspective, even if you don't agree with it. And Fantano has millions of subscribers across multiple platforms. I have a million.
Yo, they done caught your boy Fantano with the N-word, bro. That shit a little crazy, man. I mean, I've already seen clips of him saying that shit from that edgy era, but the thing that I respect about Fantano is that you could tell that he's listening to the music. He's not just letting it play through his ears, and he explains himself in a pretty in-depth way. What I don't like about Fantano is that it's not even like a him problem. It's like the nature of the rap media space problem, I think. I hate how propped up we put him when it comes to these discussions about these artists that are from a whole different life than he would even like be around. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he has to grow up selling drugs like Clips or anything like that. I'm just saying that I'm kind of sick of seeing the biggest names of hip hop media that actually talk about the music look like Anthony Fantano, look like an NFR podcast, look like a Hive Mind, which I enjoy all their content. I watch all of them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them, but I do wish there was more people like, Dead End Hip Hop, like a Sean C, like what Joe Budden podcast can be at times, because most of the times they're not really, you know, most of their podcast isn't them just talking about the music of something, but when Joe Budden really gets into why he thinks something's gonna go or why something's not gonna go, or the little antics behind what might have made an artist do, like stuff like that, I'm interested in hearing the behind the scenes of that. I really do wish we saw more of that, of people who actually cared about the feeling that the music evokes, and the artistic choices that were being made in making something. Even the marketing, I even enjoy hearing a little bit about marketing. Rather than the drama of it, which is kind of why I can sometimes fuck with academics, because I like hearing about the behind the scenes marketing stuff that he used to be uh pretty knowledgeable on, but nowadays I feel like I just see him grifting all the time to the Aubrey fans, and the women hate shit. It's just it gets to a point. He's entertaining though.
Subs across multiple platforms. Justin Hunt is pushing 400K. Curtis King is over 300K. And the hip hop podcast world is dominated by people like Joe Buttons and others who are born from the same cloth as he is. And then there's the traditional hip hop.
That's another thing. All the people that talk about it, they're just not as young as me. I don't know why.
Media entities like Ebro and Sway, all of those things are still around. But all of us combined pale in comparison to giants like Kai Cenat, especially when it comes to getting the attention of Gen Z. And as hard as this is,
Kai is older than me.
For those of you around my age watching, Kai Cenat is the biggest and most influential figure in hip hop right now, and definitely for the youth. And no, minimal shade to Kai, he's not who you should go for any type of substantive hip hop journalism. He's not a tastemaker. He's not providing criticism or analysis. At all. It's mostly just antics and jokes at best. The closest thing to substantive commentary for Gen Z is probably Sean C, who's
yes, shout out to Sean C. No glaze. I don't know if the unks know what glazing is, but I'm basically just not trying to like ride his jock him. That's what y'all be saying. No glaze, but Sean C is dead ass like my biggest inspiration for when it comes to this YouTube shit. I started watching this nigga in middle school, bro. I was like 12 or 13, and he was my first. It was my first ever time of watching somebody react to music. I didn't even know that was a thing. And when I saw him do it, I thought, man, maybe one day I would like to do this too. But I didn't feel like equipped the way he seemed to be. Like he was recognizing samples. He would always explain himself very, very well. He would have these ideas of what tracks work in what situations and who would sound good on what, even if it's not happening like in real time. Like, and it always felt like off the cuff too. Like he just had this stuff like flying off the top of his head. And I always really respected that about him. And then when he started getting to even bigger conversations about the culture around it, like I want to say around like 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019, I want to say it was during those years when I heard, he made me think deeper about not just the music, but the things that happen around it. And I feel like that's something that Anthony Fantano and NFR podcast, none of them dudes could ever make me think something like that, because you have to come from a certain kind of cloth, in my opinion. You have to look like a certain kind of, not look like, but you have to have a deeper understanding of certain contexts that these musical moments exist in, and the real life consequences to what made it like be like that. And I feel like Sean C has just been always super good at that. And to see him like being a streamer now and branch off to all this other shit, and I still find him entertaining after over a decade, I tip my hat to him. And it's not just because we have the same name, because Sean is in my name. But anyways, let me just continue. I just really full off glazed the nigga for no reason, bro.
barely Gen Z because he's 29 now. And Sean C has
My nigga's pushing 32. Holy shit.
a large following, but all the other younger oriented content media entities that I can think of that are also youth oriented are more like Kai Cenat. That whole streaming world, while I get that it's, you know, entertainment and well, I don't get it. I don't get streaming. I don't get that world of streaming. I don't think it's directly a problem, but I know it's not serving hip hop criticism in any meaningful way. It's just a lot of young dudes having fun, which I get it. The people that are Gen Z that are doing serious commentary are much, much smaller and they're not getting nearly the same level of attention.
I think that's me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the biggest and the bestest yet, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Um, I do think that I don't think that this is like a hip hop problem um alone. I think this is just a problem culturally in general with my age range. We seem to not have in-depth thoughts on anything. And I don't know if it's because of just how pounded our brains have been by this rise of social media and technology and things of that nature. But again, I really do think it's just about the culture of conversation and just how it's evolved within my age range. It feels like to have in-depth thoughts about anything is like a it's like you get demonized for it, you get made fun of for it, and it's not something that's been new either. Like niggas start saying, "Oh, who does this nigga think he is?" Da 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 da, shit like that. It's like for certain, like for you to have an in-depth thought about anything that isn't super dramatic, like it could be the most mundane thing, like some music, like a movie, like a painting. It just people just don't seem to care. It's not just an attention span thing either. I feel like it's more of like a ego thing, or like a or just like a mob mentality thing. Like it's so weird. Like I don't see people get loved for actually having true passion no more, or having true care about what they're saying about something. It's not just hip hop. Is all I'm trying to say. To be honest, like who's a young movie reviewer that does in-depth reviews on movies? Like a young one. I don't see that. Who's a young anything when it comes to in-depth like thinking? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't see shit like that too much.
I mentioned Dom, who along with Four and with the Potty Mouth podcast, and they're just starting to get traction the last couple of years. Then there's people like Top 5 Troy, who I think is pretty small. Dupley is another hip hop creator that's made some good stuff and gotten a lot of
Heard of
views.
Dupley like years ago.
I can't think of too many hip hop channels that are doing actual journalism as opposed to just making hip hop drama commentary. And I get why those channels do numbers, because it seems like more hip hop fans are interested in drama than music. And I get why, because this
I
generation,
think the reason they do numbers is because it's quicker to consume. It's easy. You get a quick hit of dopamine from hearing about somebody's drama. Then you can just move along without, with your day. Niggas got to go to work, bro. Niggas has got to go to work. They got to drop off their kids, all types of shit. I get it. It's a quick little hit of dopamine. It's something that, like, if I were doing that, I'd probably get a lot bigger, a lot quicker, but I would have no passion in it because I just don't care for drama that much. But that would be one of my theories of why they do numbers, because that's how it's always been. Like TMZ, E! News, that's been around since, I was a fetus, you know what I'm saying?
first images of hip hop commentary in the last decade, it seems like more hip hop fans are interested in drama than music. And I get why, because this generation's first images of hip hop commentary in the last decade were guys like DJ Vlad and Adam 22.
Again, two people that don't look like the topics that they like to cover.
That's it. I can't just pin it explicitly on a failure within Gen Z, because that's our responsibility. Don points out something I've complained about for years, which is that the old guard of hip hop tastemakers are struggling with aging out of relevancy. They're struggling with change, and for the longest, too many of us have been openly hostile and dismissive of what the modern era of hip hop is about. And the consequences of this.
Facts.
There's been a severe lack of carrying on tradition. And by tradition, I don't necessarily mean a specific style of rap, but I mean the essence of what hip hop culture was supposed to be. Recognize that hip hop has always been compromised. Like from day one, go back to my Kid and Play video. As soon as the money came to rap music stopped being a radical art form. But there were at least always counter forces within the culture resisting commodification, resisting selling out, and staking a claim to that essence the entire time. And that's mostly gone now. Now the biggest, most influential faces in hip hop culture are doing commercials for Target in the middle of Target being boycotted by black people. So please believe you had issues with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, that's a bad look. I'm not gonna lie.
Early this year, I can't wait to see what Kai Cenat and his homies are doing 20 years.
They done caught y'all niggas up. Yo, shout out to Tone. Shout out to Tone. Man, I wanna be mad, you know, at what he's saying about them, but I can't. I can't. It would be hugely disingenuous to act like it's not a weird look for you to be a bunch of black creators working with a company that eliminated DEI, and us as a people are very publicly boycotting and not fucking with. Again, I'm not saying anyone has to do anything, but I'm just saying it's kind of like, damn, bro, with all the power and the money that you got, you don't have to go out and do that. But, you know, it is what it is.
So now for, you know, President Baby Hitler that we'll have by then, because that's a whole other conversation. I see people like Aiden Ross
Baby
and
Hitler,
SQC,
crazy.
first of all, academics, garnering massive audiences and getting co-signs, even by legitimate hip hop tastemakers. And you could never have been a serious figure in hip hop doing the things they do. And back in my day, you could never have been a serious figure in hip hop doing some of the things they do. In the 90s and 2000s, coming out and saying that you were a fan of Bush 1 or 2 or Ronald Reagan would have had you completely excised from the culture. But now we have our OGs and new age tastemakers for hip hop overtly supporting Donald Trump. How have many of these so-called tastemakers covered these black women stars? I think you already know the answer. There's a world where Meg and Doechii and others feel bigger than they do even right now if there was a hip hop media landscape more amenable for engaging with female stars. And don't get me wrong, hip hop has never been great with women from jump, but compare the way that hip hop culture received Lil' Kim and Lauryn Hill and Foxy Brown and Nicki Minaj a couple decades ago versus how people like academics and Aiden Ross treat Doechii and Meg Thee Stallion. And
Yeah, they be wildin', bro. They be doing too much, bro. And I'm not even a big fan of either of their music like that. I reacted to the Doechii project. It was, you know, it was cool or whatever, but, you know, like, we gotta stop trying to play like we the fool, like we don't see what's going on. People are using little anecdotal moments to just filter out their frustration and hatred towards black women. They are the most unprotected person, not in just America, but the world. It is the black woman. Why are we trying to turn a blind eye to it? Like, what exactly are we gaining out of acting like these people aren't just showcasing their hatred towards them? Because it seems like to be a common thread that we're gonna hate on black women for being ugly, for being too pretty, for being too righteous, for being hypersexual. Like, when will we just start like just like bro, it's aggravating, it's frustrating, because I grew up with straight black women raising me, basically just only that. And I seen moments in real life where that comes out from men, and it's really not necessary, bro. If you don't like the music, just say you don't like the music. If you think she lied, then just say that you think she lied and then move on. But, you know, niggas want to over OD it, bro.
Regardless of how people my age feel about the state of hip hop culture right now, and if you feel like the youth and Gen Z and soon to be Gen Alpha is fucking up the culture, that's still our fault. And that's because for the longest time, a lot of us have been openly hostile to anything new people, young people.
Sorry, but y'all old heads be wildin' sometimes too. I've been giving the YN's belt. Now it's time to give y'all old heads some belt. Y'all be so dismissive, but I'm gonna let them continue before I get into it, because I'm gonna go into a whole rant about that.
people have been doing with hip hop. We have been incredibly uninviting to large chunks of their generation. When Kanye dropped Airways and
Facts.
Heartbreak, we shitted on it heavy, said it wasn't hip hop, said we were mad at Kanye for it. But that album is clearly today one of the most influential records hip hop has seen in the last 2 decades.
That's one of the most influential hip hop records of all time, not even just the last 2 decades. Mind you, I was a child when this came out. I was in elementary school when I was hearing In the Night. I was 1 year old when The College Dropout came out. I'm very young, but I am someone who could tell you that everybody my age is their favorite rappers. This was all their favorite album, whether that be Juice WRLD, whether that be X, whether that be Ski Master Slum God, whether that be freaking Trippy Red. Like these dudes all mentioned this. Like Lil Uzi, Playboy Cardi. Like you can't not, you can't not like Travis Scott. You know what I'm saying? It was this album and it was that Kid Cudi album with Mr. Rager on it. It was these two albums that people love talking about. Like all the artists in my generation always talk about these albums.
When Lil Yachty said he didn't know much about Biggie because he was literally born a couple of months after Biggie died.
That's crazy too. Getting on a nigga for not knowing about Biggie when he was as young as he was. I think he was like what, like 18 when he was starting to pop off. Cause and this is coming from somebody that I listened to Ready to Die when I was in middle school. I listened to The Chronic when I was in middle school. I listened to freaking what else? Entered 36 Chamber Wu Tang. I listened to all that shit, but not because I was trying to garner respect from anybody, not because I felt like I had to. It's because I genuinely just was curious and I enjoy music. And I've always had an old soul, I've always been the young. But I feel like older people are forgetting that when you were that age, you didn't know shit about this stuff before you until somebody, gave you a reason to know about it. You know what I'm saying? You weren't trying to knock at any gatekeeper's door like, okay, I studied this album, I studied that album, I studied this album. Can I get a gold star, please? Can I get a cookie now? Can I get respect and adoration from my peers and your peers and maybe like no nigga, that wasn't how it worked. It was a very natural, gradual, like like it was a gradual gaining of these things, of these sounds, of these people, of these influences. You didn't just wake up one day wanting to know every little thing about southeast rap. You didn't just want to know about fucking whoever came before Outkast. You know what I'm saying? It happened naturally. And also it's mad unfair because hip hop is still such a very young genre. It's only 52 years old. It's the same age as my freaking mom, bro. My mom and hip hop are the same age, dog. It's a very young genre. So it's been a lot of predecessors for my generation to even go back and listen to. Like and what do niggas get from just going back to hear shit just to hear shit with no context to it either? What sense does that make? What do I look like? I lived in Georgia. I don't anymore. I'm in CT now. I'm in Connecticut. What do I look like showing a 16-year-old in Connecticut, yo, you and me, we gonna go and do some Connecticut shows, just walk outside. I'm gonna have you listen to Project Pat. What the fuck? I like Project Pat because I was hearing Project Pat in Georgia from my auntie that went to college in Tennessee. That's why I like Project Pat because it's something that I heard in the car, in the trunk, loud as shit. Didn't know what was going on, but when I went back and listened to it during the quarantine, I remembered those feelings of how I felt during that time. I listened to Nas Omatic because I had an older coach, a basketball coach, New York Knicks fan. Our team was the Knicks that I played for, and he didn't know how to pronounce my name because my name is Nishan, and he was saying that's mad long. We're gonna give you a nickname. He nicknamed me Nas. I don't know why. I don't know why Nas of all things. He said the letters work. He likes the rapper. He started singing. Nas is like, "Dun-na-na-na, my poetry's deep." He was singing all types of shit, right? All these lyrics. And I was telling him, I don't know any Nas. I don't know his songs like that. I knew who he was, but I didn't know his music. My mom always talked about him because she had a crush on him, but I never knew about his music. He was like, "What, bro? You gotta listen to Nas." If I did not like this coach, I would probably have a vendetta against Nas right now. But since this coach was so cool, so like nice, so nurturing, he made me feel included. It was my first year of living in CT from Georgia. I felt mad, like awkward about shit, but he made me feel comfortable, and people just began to know me as Nas when I first got here, and that outcould people, right? I then one day go to YouTube and I look up the song where he's doing my poetry's deep. I looked up the lyrics and I listened to it. And then I would go on to listen to Illmatic after I heard J. Cole. It was that year, that was a very pivotal year of music for me. But that's not something that I would naturally stumble upon. I had people in my life. My mom always said Biggie was the best. She was always talking about Biggie. So you know what I did one day? As soon as I got my little app that I could take YouTube and turn a YouTube video into like a downloadable song, I downloaded all of Ready to Die and I loved Give Me the Loot. I loved the song Suicidal Thoughts. I don't know if I'll be able to say that word on YouTube, but I loved that song too. I loved so much shit from it, and Biggie became one of my favorites. My mom took me to see the WNBA movie Straight Outta Compton. What did I do after that? I listened to NWA. I was listening to Eazy-E. I found that shit on YouTube. I found the Chronic on YouTube. It's just shit that naturally happened. And again, you can attribute that to just me being always around older people. I had no cousins my age, no siblings my age for real. It was just me, older people, and mad young people. But stuff like that doesn't just happen overnight. We can't keep criticizing or trying to we can't keep trying to demonize these young people for not knowing old shit. You know what I'm saying? And I was somebody who used to do that. I will admit I used to really expect like people my age to be listening to that shit because I was always getting like made fun of a little bit for like what I was listening to because it would be like some off the wall lyrical like old school shit, and I'd be like, how you don't know this person? How you don't know that person? But you got to realize it's about context. You know what I'm saying? So that was a long range. I could honestly make a whole second video on that, really, but I mean, let me not. I'm just saying you got to have more care and understanding of why certain people don't know certain things. You know what I'm saying? It makes no sense for me to expect a 16, 17, 18-year old to enjoy Project Pat in the context of where we're at now. You know what I'm saying?
We crucified him for years for that and wrote him off as if it wasn't an elder's responsibility to sit at him for Biggie because he was literally born a couple of months after Biggie died. One of the most influential records hip hop has seen in the last 2 decades. When Lil Yachty said he didn't know much about Biggie because he was literally born a couple of months after Biggie died, we crucified him for years for that and wrote him off
That's
as if
real.
it wasn't an elder's responsibility to sit him down and play Biggie for him, because that's what adults are supposed to do with the youth. So when you look at the way we've engaged and managed those types of conflicts, a schism, a divide between the young and the old was inevitable.
That's
We
real.
are responsible for carrying on tradition, and we didn't do that. And like thinking about that, I have to show love to Kendrick Lamar, because even though while there's criticism for him connecting with an artist like Playboi Carti, I said then and I better recognize now that his goal was just to introduce a generation of fans to a style of hip hop that they haven't been involved with or invited to. Those kids were not here to listen to Good Kid, Mad City 13 years ago. Yes, Good Kid, Mad City came out 13 years ago.
Again, that's crazy. When Good Kid, Mad City came out, I was 9. I was about 8 or 9. What business do I have as an 8 or 9-year-old listening to Good Kid, Mad City? I had to go back to listen to that, dog. I had to go back. Honestly, I shouldn't have been listening to Pepper Butterfly when it first came out either, because what, 2014, I was like, what, I was, dang, 2014, I was like 11 years old. No, Good Kid, Pepper Butterfly was 2015. Whatever, I was a preteen when that came out. I have no real understanding of that album for real. What was I doing listening to it? But I just happened to do it. You got to give people time and grace. That shit is crazy though. I was that young when Poetic Justice was out, bro. I was in elementary school, bro. This is weird, dog.
There's other factors we can't dismiss, right? Like This generation has been the subject of one of the most aggressive anti-intellectualism campaigns that humanity has ever seen.
Facts. My generation hates smart people. They hate well thought out anything. I hate it. I'm sorry. I'll apologize on our behalf for that because I can't stand it either.
Critical thinking and media literacy was basically taken out of schools deliberately by George W. Bush and Barack Obama. I'm gonna stay on that man's head until y'all understand the problem. I'm sorry if that makes you upset. I was a teacher during that time frame, and all of us knew something.
So was my mom. My mom's a teacher. I gotta ask her how the difference was.
Something was wrong when we realized that absolutely nothing had changed in the way that we were supposed to be teaching when he became president. But even with that, it's still a problem that the intellectual wing of hip hop media for people under 30 seems severely underdeveloped. And I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg situation. Is it that there's not enough real critics, or is it that there's not an audience for it? That's hard to say, but I do know.
That is a great question. Do people even like well thought out discussions nowadays from my generation? I really don't know. Most of my audience is people way older than me. Um, when I do lighthearted reactions too, where I'm just, vibing, giving like minimal like repertoire, or not repertoire, like rapport on what's going on. But that's because I don't feel like all music needs that. But when I do my in-depth stuff, I don't think it's people my age really watching that. I feel like it's the older folks.
That it's for everyone that loves hip hop, young and old, to put in the work needed to fix it. Because when I'm 50, while it might be interesting to hear Social Security retirement bars from Nas or Jay-Z, I imagine it will make me sleep better at night knowing that some new little young nigga is taking over the game in a way that I have never seen before.
New little young nigga.
Lifetime. That's what a healthy hip hop culture looks like. It's not
Facts.
the clips. As much as I love that album being the face of the game right now, it should be some new nigga that we don't know nothing about doing something we never even imagined. Except Playboy Cardi. I'm sorry.
Hey man, chill on Playboy Cardi, but not too much on Cardi. I probably look like such a weird person saying that Cardi and Clips are like both in my Cardi, Clips, Mike Showbiz. These are all some of my contenders for what's been like the best when it comes to top five. I know I look crazy, but I don't care. Not too much on Cardi. Not too much. I know he's not that great to y'all, but he does something for us, bro.
Just give me that one. Just give me that one. Again, pulling from my combo with Company Man. Our generation is the first to age.
Already pushing 32, I
So
think.
us in our 40s and 50s, we're doing this for the first time, and we clearly don't have a blueprint. But we do have an example of how it can go wrong. Because when you look at rock music, that's not where I want hip hop to be. Those of you younger than me may not realize it, but there was a time back in my day.
Why you keep saying why you keep saying it like that? With the edit zooming in, that's funny as fuck.
Significantly more relevant genre of music and music culture, and significantly more back in my day. That rock music was a significantly more relevant genre of music. And
Heard about this.
And pop culture and mainstream anything. It's like Blink-182 and System of a Down and Metallica or Aerosmith and all these other folks were just as likely to be on your TV screens and just as likely to have the equivalent of trending sounds or whatever back then. And right now, almost all of that is very niche and barely gets a blip compared to hip hop and pop and I don't know, Afrobeat or whatever else. And there's a ton of reasons why rock is invisible from wide commercial appeal, but it couldn't have helped that the old guards of rock and metal and punk acted just how some of us are acting right now, dismissive, territorial, and arrogant toward those who are supposed to inherit the culture. So unless you want this thing of ours to die with us the way it died with rock, we need to be putting in work to nurture and develop the things we love amongst the younger generation.
And that's why I got so much love for my viewers, so much love for the new folks that came in through the Clips reaction. Even some of y'all who even came in from my Freddie Gibbs reactions. Thank you so much for the love and support and actually treating me with with care and wanting me to understand and like these things. I had a comment on my TikTok. I made a TikTok of me reacting to the Stove God Cooks hook off of clips. A lot of love on that clip. People loved it. It got like 8,000 views, which is a lot for me. I know it's not a lot for a lot of the big folks, but for me that's a lot. And it was all older folks, all of them basically. And seeing them, some of them be like, "Wow, I love seeing this. I'm happy for this guy. I'm happy for this young dude." He Some aunties were saying welcome to real hip hop, stuff like that. And there was a lot of shit like that that was nice, and I love night, and I can't I can't stress how appreciative I am of that. But there was also little jabs at my generation's music for no reason. There's a lot of that going on in the comments too, and I didn't really respond to them because it's like there's really nothing to say, because there's so much negative discourse on it that it's like it feels like impossible to combat. It's like, what's the point of even trying? And I feel like that's not just a hip hop thing either. I think that's a communication thing within between generations as well. But it's like you can't expect somebody to want to keep diving their head or dipping their toe in a pool that's constantly burning them. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would another young person want to check something out after this lady wrote a whole paragraph about how I need to do it? She said I need to do my homework. Because I made a video talking about how Malice is 52 and people that are older are killing the game right now. She's like, right now, they just taking it back. You need to do your homework on KRS-One, this and the third. Like, respectfully, I'm not doing none of that shit. Cause why the fuck are you talking like that? You know what I'm saying? But that's just me being dramatic. But that's going to be the natural knee jerk reaction a young person's going to have if you're constantly slandering shit that you just don't understand yet. And then for young people, it's going to be the same thing to y'all. If you want to connect with the older folks too, you can't keep dismissing everything to be trash because of age. If something is good, it is good. If somebody is 50 years old rapping better than these 26-year-olds, you have to just acknowledge they're rapping better. They're making better music. This nigga I was texting on IG because he's one of my boys from like way back from like high school. I said way back, like I'm not in my 20s. He was talking about, Sean, you can't say this down the third. These are old niggas, bro. You can't be saying these old niggas are running the game, bro. Like, that's crazy. That's glaze. But nigga, you haven't given a reason of why they're not. You haven't said why their music isn't up to par. You have no reason. You're fully chalking it up to them being older, so it can't be cool. It can't be enjoyable because they're older. That's not the case. Mind you, this nigga's in love with Drake. So how do we so let's talk about the real issue at hand. It's not about the age that's the problem. It's the status of the artist in regards to your personal value of them. That's really it. Because of all the bitches in the clubs that are shaking their ass to a Pusha T verse or a Pusha T hook, and you was there and you saw that there was a way for you to get a little bit of notoriety for enjoying this artist, suddenly a lot of niggas would be on that artist's dick. I see it time and time again. Half of you niggas were not listening to Lucky in 2019 and 18. I'm sorry. You weren't. You just weren't. That's just, like, half y'all niggas were not listening to Frank Ocean in 2015. You did not like Frank Ocean until you saw it was cool for girls to like it's just certain shit like that. Like, I remember bumping Chanel at my PlayStation party, listening to it, singing along to it, and niggas be like, "You said you're what? My guy pretty like a what? Nah, bro, that's us. That's gay." I'm like, nigga, this shit is beautiful. It's a great song. I remember those days. And years later down the line, you seeing them post it on their story day after day after day, trying to get the next bitch to bite. It's like, I took a whole tangent there. I went a whole roundabout way, but I'm just saying, a lot of y'all aren't being genuine with your with your analysis of an artist's value and quality of music. You're just not. A lot of y'all are not. And that goes for mostly the young people, to be honest. You're just not honest about it. And the old people, you are just operating from an ignorant way sometimes when it comes to conversing with these younger folks. You're not doing it in a nurturing way. But not my viewers. My viewers are great. My viewers, they got open hearts and open minds, and they showed love, and it's my biggest video because of that. You know what I'm saying? It's because of the love. That video is only based in love. You feel me? It's only based in love. That's the only thing that's high ended in my opinion. But yeah, let me stop yapping, bro. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about this shit, bro. I really love this music shit. I really love this rap shit, this hip hop shit, this culture shit.
And don't tell me they don't want to listen. That's part of the process. Neither did we, and we didn't because
Hold on.
we in work to nurture and develop the things we love amongst the younger generation. And don't tell me they don't want to listen. That's part of the process. Neither did we, and we didn't
That's
because the
facts.
people above us.
You know how long it took me to listen to a Mary J. Blige project? Because that's my mom's favorite singer. I didn't listen to a whole project until I was like a junior in high school, bro. Cause I'm like, damn, mom, you always talking about us playing there, bro. It's not that deep. I listened to it. It is that deep. Mary J. Blige is her.
Did not respect us. Y'all remember that even in the 90s, there were black radio stations that didn't play hip hop? Y'all remember people like Larry Blackmon, the lead singer from Cameo? This guy had the nerve to say that rappers look silly. So remember how that felt. Consider what you wanted from your
Nigga wearing a red jocks, like nigga a ruby red jock strap, bro, and you're talking shit.
rappers look silly. So remember how that
That's a COON to me.
felt.
Sorry.
Consider what you wanted from your elders once upon a time.
Talking
and
shit
give
about
that
rap
to
with the
youth,
ruby
if
red.
not for their
Boy,
sake,
I should
then for the sake
cup check you.
because we all talk about a shift, right? And I'm still 50-50 on whether or not this shift is really like a thing. Because I can't believe it's a real positive change for hip hop if it's only being appreciated and engaged with by people who won't be here in a decade to carry that tradition on. I can't see it as a real win for the culture until it's joined by artists half our age and celebrated in the same way. Because otherwise, it's not a shift, it's a last hurrah. If you made it this far in the
Damn.
video, there's a chance you might want to hear more from that other video that's never coming to YouTube.
Damn,
I do talk
that's
a little bit
deep.
more about clips. I get into a bunch of
He said is a last hurrah. I'm hoping, bro. Fuck it, I'm about to get in the studio, bro. I'm about to get in the studio, bro. These young niggas playing, bro. We can't just let this shit die, bro. I'm about to get in the studio and really save the game, bro. I got to.
other stuff. I can't even think about at this point. But like I said, that video is never coming to YouTube, but you can watch it in its original form on my streaming service, Nebula. Let's talk about today's sponsor, Nebula. For those who don't know, Nebula was created by artists like me to be a way for us
Yeah. That shout out to Nebula though. Go check it out. I'm not trying to diss it. I'm just saying, just gotta, you know what I'm saying. I agree with him wholeheartedly. FD Signifier is one of the better examples of somebody who is older that's trying to do it differently, trying to do right by not just his generation but the one coming forth, and not just generations, isolated from each other, but like from a whole grand scheme of just the culture in general, because at the end of the day all cultures are going to have the inclusions of different age ranges. Simple as that. And to nurture that is going to take some time, it's going to take some effort, but most importantly, which might be the hardest thing, it's going to take change. It's going to take changes. It's going to take things to actually be different. We're going to have to approach conversations differently. We're going to have to approach music creating differently for certain artists. I'm looking at you again, Drake. I might even be looking at a Young Thug in Future, bro. All the pioneers of Atlanta rap music. As pioneers, why has it been so dry to the point that Metro Boomin has to do an entire album just rehashing sounds from the 2000s era, which I don't have a problem with. I really don't. But that just goes to show that we are in an age issue. We got Clips running shit. We got Metro Boomin, one of the most notable producers of my generation, if not the most notable when you really think about it, doing a whole project just to commemorate a past version of the style that he's now evolved. That doesn't sit right with you a little bit. That doesn't make you feel like, damn, there really needs to be a change. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with him doing that, but I'm just saying, like, as the front runners of that era, and I'm talking about this era pretty in depthly because I remember that time when I was little hearing that stuff. There's a lot of room to grow it, you know what I'm saying? But W video from FD Signifier. Let me know what y'all think, man. How do y'all feel about this ageism crisis in the comments? Please talk to each other. I know I have a few young niggas up in here. I know I got some older folks on here. Talk to each other, man. Have some discourses. When I start streaming, I think I'm gonna just put all y'all in a Discord call and see what y'all got to do. What y'all got to say about that, man. I want to put y'all in some situations socially and see who could really float. But yeah, man, that's it for today, man. I just wanted to see what y'all was feeling about this. Personally, I think that it's a pretty thought provoking topic and something that needs to be addressed. And I feel like FD did a really good job at bringing it to the table. So yeah, y'all have a blessed day though. Air with me on all platforms. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. More content on the way. I'm reacting to stuff. I am giving you more creative A&R type videos too, and soon I'll be streaming. I think I'm gonna start streaming at 500 subs. So once I get to 500, I'll start live streaming on Twitch. But y'all like, y'all comment and subscribe. Y'all talk to each other, and I reply to everything too. So yeah, thank you so much. Catch you on the next one. Peace. If you can get this to 100 likes, be a happy camper. All right, I'm out.